Don't blink, it's your boy Ink. Welcome to another part of the movie that changed my life. In this movie, ladies and gent, I feel the need for glasses because we're going deep in the knowledge. Now, ultimately, these glasses don't make me look like a nerd, or do they? But then you look at Clark Kent, whose whole this costume disguise was glasses. So don't fuck with the power of glasses. Now, I established in the part one, which is a show, which is a video that you should watch because it's gonna make sense a lot more if you watch this video. I've already established the mindset I was when I saw those two movies that completely changed my life. Out of a job, out of a girlfriend, boyfriend committed he unalive himself, no purpose. I was a wreck, I was a shadow of myself. This guy, and no shape or form could be Ink Vendetta. And I'm not saying Ink Vendetta as, oh, I'm this upper being, I'm this amazing person, I'm this godlike figure. I'm not saying this, but this guy was a shadow of himself. And this guy was a shadow in everybody else's life. I've always wondered why this guy, nobody cared about him. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about 22 years old Ink, right? Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a second thought to, hey, what's going on with this guy? Nobody would text me first. Nobody would say, hey, how you doing? And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that was because I had no purpose. Because I wasn't found to talk to. Because I had no goals. I was simply surviving. I was simply existing. Now, ultimately, if you're in this case, seek help, talk to people, try to better yourself, because there's a reason people don't want to talk to you. Actually, there's two reasons. There's shitty people, or you're too depressing, and the perception that they have about you, even though it's a bad one, it's not entirely up to them. It's the image you give, and I understand that it's hard to give an image out of when you're sad, but putting in the universe that you're willing and you're looking and you're actually fighting to gain back this smile, this happiness means something. And this is why the next movie we're going to talk about, the second movie that in that period changed my life, needs to be talked about. Now, again, the first movie was Dante's Inferno, a battle with good versus evil. The second movie is V for Vendetta. So a lot of people, they say the name Ink Vendetta and they know I got tattoos, so they know why I'm saying ink, but they don't know why I put Vendetta. Is it because I'm vindictive? Yes. Is it because I'm Italian? No. Is it because I think it sounds good? Yes. Is it because ultimately I was getting bullied and I wanted to look tough so I wouldn't get bullied online? Absolutely. But ultimately, it's an homage to a simple person, not a man, not a lady, but an idea. And the idea is V. Now, we're going to be exploring the reason why V is so important later on. Much, much, much later on. I would time myself 20 minutes. So if you only care about V as a personage, as a character of a movie, of a story from Alan Moore, look out Alan Moore. The book is better than the movie. But if it wasn't for the movie, I wouldn't have read the book. Yeah? Yeah. Sorry. So, why is V for Vendetta super important? Well, V for Vendetta was simply very entertaining. V for Vendetta felt like a superhero movie that wasn't a superhero. V for Vendetta feels like a movie that gave me a purpose because the whole plot of the movie is giving purpose. But there is a very, very simple reason for that. So, there's this beginning where you see this guy and he's bombing a parliament. And this guy face, we see the face, and it resembled the mask of V. And the mask of V is the mask of the Anonymous. So, if they created a whole group of Anonymous on the idea of V, it just goes to show you how powerful was V for Vendetta, how much of a change it was. Now, for that, we have to explore the main character. And let me surprise you. I forgot the name of the main character. I know, bad and key, bad boy, bad, 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 bad. But it's not V. The main character is portrayed by Natalie Portman. Now, the amazingness of V for Vendetta, right, isn't V is the passing of power. We're seeing V as this all powerful, this almost superhero esque person. And we're seeing Natalie Portman as a victim. During the story, Natalie Portman becomes this superhero. And this is why V for Vendetta is one of the best movie, if not the best movie I ever saw. Now, ultimately, it's a story about what? It's a story about a totalitarian regime where everybody is supposed to follow the rules, supposed to there's curfew, there's a movie that you have to watch. It's very, very controlled. But since the character of Natalie Portman know nothing better, she followed blindly. Now you have this character of V. This character of V is the proper definition of an anarchist. Now, there's three characters before him that I saw as anarchists. One of them was the Joker from The Dark Knight. He was the perfect example of anarchist, wanting to see the world burn just because the world needed to burn. The second one was Tyler Durden. Again, a person that believed that the system was so corrupted that it needed to be destroyed. And if you're part of its movement, you get to survive. But if you're not part, you're the enemy. And if you're the enemy, you should die. Now, two of them are super. Again, they're fighting totalitarianism, but they're fighting it with totalitarianism, which is again the idea that you must follow a close line. And if you're not following, you're not part of the totality. And if you're not part of the totality, you're problems. We dispose of you, right? And now this brings us to V. And I know I said three, right? But the third one, I'm gonna explain it to you guys. The third one was an anarchist in the proper form. But I didn't know he was until I understood what V stood for. V is an anarchist. So what he does is, during the movie, he's super funny, super goofy. He takes a public figure and makes a joke out of it. He acts some station. He talks a message. He talks some truth. And you're like, yeah, it doesn't change it, right? V isn't a hero. V isn't a bad guy. V isn't. Oh, I'm not gonna say what it is because it's a spoiler, right? But V, when I want to make sure it protects something that is not against. So, for example, if you talk about police brutality, you fight the police. If you talk about a too high of a tax, you would manifest in the streets, right? And ultimately, it might work, it might not work. When you see V, you're not sure what he's fighting against. You're not sure what he's fighting for. And then the main character, which is Natalie Portman, gets almost great, but saved by V. So, to protect her, V lets her in the house, right? And at first, it's only that. Now, V, when he saves Natalie Portman, he doesn't plan on making her is the character that she's supposed to be. He doesn't plan on making her the real main character. He doesn't plan anything for her, but just saving her because it's the right thing to do. Natalie Portman's wake up, and she's seeing lost media that is considered contraband, illegal. But when she sees it, she sees something beautiful. She sees arts. She sees different opinion. She hears music that she never heard before. She's told about emotion, about love between two women, something that she never thought was supposed to be possible. Now, the character of V is very simple. You see that, and he discovered that Natalie Portman isn't as much as a victim as she seemed. What I mean by this is Natalie Portman in this movie is seemingly part of the totalitarian system because she knows nothing better. She followed the rules because she doesn't know there's something apart from those rules. She followed the system because she doesn't know that the system isn't the only answer. But in that morning, when she's appreciative of the other things around, V understands one thing. V understands that she's open-minded. So V does the unthinkable. She asked him, hey, how'd you get all this? How does this exist? What is the truth? V as an answer, and I'm telling you right away, I never mentioned V as a hero. I never mentioned that he was a good person. V is not a good person. And I know what I'm saying. I know V is not a good person. V is an asshole. He kidnaps Natalie Portman and he puts her in a makeshift jail. And it's only at the end of the movie you understand why he does that. So when he puts her in a jail, she understands what it means to be a prisoner. Right? Now the reality is, V doing this wasn't trying to make her stronger. He was trying to make her understand that although she wasn't locked inside a room like he did to her, he put her in a room and he locked her in. She was locked inside a system that was a jail in itself. The very idea of a system, the very idea of a clear path to follow, and if you don't follow it, we dispose of you, is the idea worth exploring tonight. The idea we're exploring tonight is the fact that, guess what? You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong if you don't believe in us. But there's something else than us. Now, ultimately, she understands that this is something, she understands that V is something that needs to be protected. And why am I saying something? There's a reason why I'm saying something. Now, V, as I've mentioned before, never planned on making Natalie Portman the hero of the story. He already has a plan, and sadly, the plan is in its final phase. So we continue, right? And Natalie Portman, she see, and she says, "How can I help V?" Now, what I didn't mention before is V is super strong. V was part of an experiment, right? There's not a lot we know about V. And the fact that we don't know a lot about V is so important here. It's so important, I cannot begin to tell you how important it is. We just know a couple of things. We just know that he wears a mask because he believes that the guy who made who tried to bomb the parliament was trying to create a movement, and he admire him. The second thing we know, he has a superhuman strength. And the third thing he knows, he believes that the system is wrong and it needs to be fixed. That's the only three things we know during the whole movie, right? So Natalie Portman, she says, "Hey, how can I help him? I'm not strong. I don't know anything but the system." Well, Natalie Portman happened to work at a TV station. Yeah. So she puts in a program and she helps him. Now, she got caught by the director. And I got a little secret for you guys. The director, he doesn't know V. He's not a friend of V. He's not an ally of V. But he partake in the same thing as V. And he shows her that he's been hiding stuff. He's been hiding information. He's been hiding knowledge. Right? From the very same people that V did. I want you guys to look, if you guys are an anime fan, this is a super shout out for my anime fans. It's very similar to Attack on Titans. Attack on Titans, we have walls, we don't know where they come from, but we know we have to protect them. We have information outside the wall, but it's contraband. It's illegal to have books on the out the walls. And we're told that it's to protect people from going outside the walls, right? But it's a lie, because if they knew that the outside the wall was safe, they would go. Now, what's important here is understanding that these two are related. The director tried to help her, right? And by helping her, he shows her that V is not the only one. There's something to protect. Now we enter why V does what he does and what V represents. V gets cornered because thanks to the director's help, he has gone too far and he gets caught. There's a final battle where V has to fight people, which include the governor, the bad guy of the story. The guy who put the system of you walk into a fine line, otherwise you get killed. He puts it in place, right? And there's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment where V fights them. And V gets shot at. V gets shot. He's supposed to be dead. Now, what we don't know is V has an armor. We think that V is immortal, but he's not. He's a human. So, there's one line he says that changed my life. Behind this mask lies more than flesh and blood. Behind this mask lies an ID. An ID don't die to bullets. And this part is so important because we realize the whole story. The entirety of the story. Why we didn't know nothing about V? It's because V was never real. Sure, V had a shape, had a form. V was a fighter. V fought for something called freedom. V fought for everything that he believed in. But V was just a symbol. V was a mask. That mask could be worn by anyone and everyone. Natalie Portman is the main character because when V dies, she becomes V. Not by wearing a mask, but by carrying his ID. Actually, the final scene isn't V dying. It's Natalie Portman giving the costume and the mask to everybody. And they all become Vs. V is an ID. We didn't know about the character of V because we didn't need to know the character of V. We just needed to know what he was fighting for. We didn't understand what V was fighting for until we understand that he was dying for an ideal. For the idea that something needs to be protected and something is worth dying for. Now this movie taught me one thing. But again, I have to tease you guys. If I don't tease you, it's not fun. Not fun for me, it's not fun for you. I want to go back to the very beginning of this video. The very beginning of this video, I talked about a third anarchist. There's this story called Spartacus. Now, we're going away from V for a couple minutes, and this is the importance of V. V takes an ID from one of the oldest books. In the time of Julius Caesar, there was a lot of war. A lot of war means a lot of death. People were mad at Julius Caesar. People were mad at the Roman Empire. So what they decided to do was decide to build a Colosseum, where he would take slaves and make them fight. Right? And just like a circus, just like TV, just like Netflix, just like YouTube, it was all a ploy, all a plot for people to forget real life. They didn't care about the war that was going on. All they cared about was the Colosseum, the spectacle that was presented in front of them. Now, nobody cared because they were slaves. If one slave dies, it doesn't matter. There was one rule. There was a fight. And the winner, Julius Caesar would ask, hey, should I let the loser live? Or should I let him die? And almost every time, the public voted to kill him. Now, you might seem just as barbaric, but back in the days where hanging was a process, where killing inmates was a lot simpler than just saying, hey. Now, the jury could say, we want him death by hanging. The jury. And again, this is a spectacle to make us forget about the laws, the injustice in the world. All of this to say, there was this one guy, was a general, Spartacus. Now, Spartacus was a general in a war. I forgot what army for, but he was really strong. So you imagine as a gladiator, he would be very strong. Spartacus was giving often reward. Wine, women, cash, and because he was a great fighter. And Julius was a genius. He understood that he could take Spartacus, make him the favorite warrior of the public. And Spartacus was strong enough to win every single fight. Because he could win every single fight, he had a sort of mascot for his fighting. The hero, the legionnaire, Spartacus. Spartacus had other plans. Spartacus wanted to free the slave. So Spartacus decided, hey, I want to free the slave. Hey, I want to free the slave. Hey, you're a slave, I'll free you. Until one day, where the Colosseum becomes such a big thing that not only Julius Caesar is doing it, but a lot of people are doing it. And Spartacus, by luck or by choice, gets deported to another camp. But it's a trap. And they know Spartacus is between them. They don't know what the Spartacus is supposed to look like. But they know that the hero of the slave, the person that's been freeing the slave for the longest time, is Spartacus. Now they ask him. They put all the slaves in a line, and they say, all I want is Spartacus. If Spartacus denounce himself, we'll save the rest of you, and we'll kill him. If Spartacus doesn't come out of his hiding, we'll kill all of you. Now, Spartacus' goal since the very beginning was to protect the slave. So what he did, he came forward. Another guy came in forward. Say, I'm Spartacus. Now there was two Spartacus. Then a third one came out. And then the whole group moved forward. And you say, I'm Spartacus. Now, why did we do this? Why did we talk about this story? Because we're going back to V. V is Spartacus. The final scene represents Spartacus, everybody wearing the mask. And the reason why they're wearing the mask is because they understand what V stood for. Something worth dying for. Didn't matter what, didn't matter where, it didn't matter against whom, didn't matter where we die. We were fighting for something greater than us. Now, ultimately, I might have idea that makes me hated by people. I might say some opinion that get me hated by people here, but I'm fighting for something I believe in. I'm fighting for my own vendetta, my own V. That's my ideal, because this might be a face, but this identity is a mask. Nobody knows my name. You're seeing this apartment, but you don't know where I live. You see, all of this is an ideal, is a mask. The vendetta identity is not me. Yes, I'm being honest. Yes, I'm being authentic. Yes, the person you're hearing is the person that exists. But what if I was to meet you in real life and I would act like a complete stranger? Because, again, it's all an ideal. I'm fighting for something. And just like V stood for something greater. Something greater was freedom. V taught me the real meaning of freedom. Freedom isn't going outside. Freedom isn't working for who you want. Freedom is not making those videos that I want to. Freedom is being able to do it. Now, it doesn't matter what you're able to do as long as you're able to do it. I'm able to take this pen, put it in my eyes, and pierce my eyes. That's freedom. It's stupid, but it's freedom. Now, why is it freedom? Because there's no consequences to it. Now, in the movie, everything had consequences. And ultimately, in real life, not everything has consequences. People are going to say every action has consequences. I can do this. There's no consequences. I'm going to look stupid in the video. Somebody's going to clip this. I'm going to be looking real stupid. But it doesn't matter. Now, this is freedom. Freedom is being able to take this, even though I have work tomorrow and I shouldn't be drinking an energy drink at 10:30 p.m. But having the freedom to do it is being able to drink this bottle, knowing there's going to be consequences tomorrow. The real perception of freedom isn't what you're able to do. No. The real perception of freedom, exactly, it's not what you're able to do. The real meaning of freedom is a simple act of being able to do something. Right? That's what V is standing for. The reality is V didn't protect that culture because he believed that it should be reinstated. He didn't kidnap Natalie Portman to teach her that she was in jail. V believed in an ID. V believed that the media that were destroyed or were opinions of people, and opinion of people could lead to revolution, could lead to something greater. The only thing that is greater than your opinion is opinion to block yours. The only thing that's better than your opinion is an opposing thoughts, because a opposing opinion compared to yours is the simple and most classic, direct way you're going to be able to express your opinion and defend your opinion. Because if you don't fight for your opinion, they're not worth fighting for. They're not worth fighting for. These are not important to you. V was fighting for the possibility to have an opinion, even if what he was protecting was an opinion that you were agreeing with. At least you had something to oppose. The reason why Natalie Portman takes the mantle of V, because she understands that this freedom that seems so pointless, needs to be defended. Because again, what did V do? V made a show about a politician and made fun of him. That's one of his biggest actions in the movie. Ultimately, what does this mean? Nothing. You would think that, but it's completely opposite. Now, showing this clip, showing these image, had no consequences. Nobody's gonna stand with V because they don't know who he is. The simple act of what he did was to create a reaction and to show that the guy they've been following is a bad guy. And this is what they're fighting for. When they're putting on the mask of V, they're not fighting with V, they're fighting against something. When those people say, I'm Spartacus, they weren't protecting Spartacus. They were protecting the ID Spartacus was presenting. And of course, if Spartacus embodied those... if Spartacus... We're going back to Spartacus. Spartacus, if he embodied those ideal, it didn't matter because Spartacus could die. But Spartacus, just like V, was only a mask. Now, V, by dying, the most important thing he ever did was dying. Why? Well, in a completely lucky situation, but pretty time he met Natalie Portman, and a completely turn of event, Natalie Portman was the person he needed to take his place when he was gonna die. Now, he might not have had the time to taught her everything he knew. He might not have had the time to teach her exactly what being V meant. But he had the time to install the idea that there's something more. And Natalie Portman, although if she was to become a V, so I like to reference Batman for this. I like to reference Robin for this. There've been multiple Robin, and all of them were different, but they were all Robin. They were all Batman's sidekick. Now you can look at anything you want. You can look at Green Lantern. There was different Green Lantern, but they all represented the Green Lantern. You can look at shows like fucking Naruto. There's different ninja, but they're all trying to protect the Leaf Village, right? They're all fighting for an ideal. And the Leaf Village, there's this beautiful scene in Naruto. And I'm going again off topic, but there's this beautiful scene where Pain destroyed the village. And you realize that being a Leaf Ninja was never about Konoha. It was never about living in the village. You realize that being a Leaf Ninja was always the idea of what a Leaf Ninja should be. We're talking about V as a mask, but the V is not a mask, it's not a person, it's an ideal, right? Of course, it's represented as a mask because we're watching a movie and we need something to see. That mask is a piece of plastic, is a piece of wood, is a piece of metal. It means nothing. What it represents is different, but the mask in itself means nothing. And that's what V taught me. V for Vendetta was the very idea that I needed to have a reason to fight for. V for Vendetta was there's the necessity of understanding there is something better than what I have. V for Vendetta taught me the ultimate reason. I was depressed, I had no purpose. It gave me a purpose. Understanding what's real and what's not. Now, if Dante's Inferno, those are two movies that changed my life. If Dante's Inferno taught me the difference between what I thought was right and what was really right, V for Vendetta was taught me to fight for it. Because ultimately, this channel is exactly this. It's a dude evolving in life through his opinion and his perception. What I said about V for Vendetta tonight, somebody might disagree. What I said for V for Vendetta tonight, it makes no fucking sense to anybody but me. And it's my opinion. Now, the ultimate reason why those two movies changed my life is because thanks to those two movies, I'm able to say how much they mean to me. And hopefully by watching this, you're going to watch those two movies. And hopefully they mean something completely different to you. You understand? So, V for Vendetta and Dante share something in common. Now, in V for Vendetta, the guy fights for freedom. What's his definition of freedom? My definition of freedom might be different from yours. Dante understood what was wrong and what was right. Your definition of wrong and right was different than mine. But those two characters together equate to one thing. It doesn't matter if it's different, it's yours. Dante committed crimes, deserved to go in hell. He understood that at the end. V for Vendetta understood at the very end. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, I'm getting passionate. I'm sorry. V for Vendetta understood that the best thing he could do, the best thing that was to do, was to die. For it to mean something. And that's it. Those are two movies that changed my life. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's only rambling. I know it's the thought. It might seem crazy. That I'm coming from the heart. Those are not, there's no notes next to me. Those are all coming from my memories. Those are all coming from my heart. I haven't watched those movies in years, yet they still mean something.